Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirsha Namamaha. Namaste and welcome to our Sunday discourse on the series Mind Management Techniques. I hope you all are keeping well wherever you are and taking advantage of this imposed lockdown by the virus, the time that you are getting to do some internal traveling in the inner space of our being, so to say. So, to turn any situation to our advantage and to profit from it is intelligent living, so to say. We have been over this series discussing about the inner dimension of what we are, who we are, trying to explore that and benefit from the researchers, the search for the truth in the inner dimension of human beings by these great explorers, so to say, the scientists whom we call the rishis. Instead of going out in the external space in search of truth, they went into the internal space, beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, beyond the ego, and they came across this wonderful, profound dimension of our being, which they call the Atman, when it's related to a particular individual, or Brahman, when it is the substance, substratum of the whole universe. And they try to express or convey this experience they had at that superconscious level. So the mind with which they experience these truths is not the ordinary mind that we are having, where it functions through the five sense organs and experiences what we call the world. That mind that they used is a very purified mind, and they call it the superconscious mind. So the mind has got different states, so say, the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconscious mind. We change through different levels in our day-to-day. When you go into sleep, your subconscious mind is active. Okay, all the thoughts and ideas that you've experienced, they are randomly floating into your experience, and you call them your dreams and all that. Then you wake up. This disappears, and we are what we are awake, and suddenly that mind is engaged with the five sense organs. The organs were there all the time. The eyes were there, the ears were there, sound was coming, light was coming, but somehow we are not seeing or hearing through them. When you wake up, that connection happens, and suddenly the signal that is there, light enters into our eyes, it goes there, you see, become aware of it, you react to it. That is the conscious mind. Reasoning takes place. But there is another state of mind, the superconscious mind, when this same mind is pushed from this level to a higher level. And when that opens, that faculty opens up, then what we call the world of names and forms and people and plants and trees, they also get transformed. We don't see only the external shapes there, but we see the substance out of which they are made. And at the same time, we also don't experience ourselves as a body, as a form, materials, structure there. We experience ourselves as a substance out of which this is made. And that is not a material thing, it's a pure consciousness. They try to use various languages to express something which is, for which language is not designed to express, because this is our everyday language to deal with this everyday world. So they make some definitions, and with the help of this human language, they try to express as much as possible. Sometimes they take help of analogies and stories and all those things. So those are given to us as the spiritual instructions, as the scriptures, the Vedas and all that, Gita and Upanishad. With the help of that, we get some hint of the reality there. We'll never be able to really understand or realize the truth by torturing the text, so to say. But just like you will never understand a place by studying a map, you have to start working the journey and going to that particular place, and then you will see and experience it. So religion is realization. It is very, very important to understand that. It is not gathering so much information from various sources, scriptures and all that, and having a intellectual conception of what God is or Atman is, what man is. That is just like looking at that nice, beautiful map. At some point, one gets interested and says, I want to travel the journey. I want to be up and doing, walking the talk, so to say. So there are two parts of it. One is the philosophy, which is the Vedanta philosophy, which we are discussing, trying to have a deeper, clearer understanding of who we are, what the world is, what's its true nature, how we are interrelated with it. And then beyond this world, I am the Atman, and behind the beyond me is the Atman, beyond the world is the Brahman, and the two are same, and that is the pure consciousness, eternal, immortal, and all the words that we use to express that. So after listening to this again and again and again, and if it resonates with us, these teachings, wow, this is so interesting. I never thought of myself as an eternal, immortal being. And that is a very nice thing to hear about myself, but I'm not just happy to believe in that, I want to experience that. That trigger should happen. If it doesn't happen, then you are just maybe part of the journey you are starting. But at some point, you start the engine of the car, but just starting the engine is not good. You have to engage it into a gear. Then it moves forward, and then you change the gears, and it takes then the vehicle will take you to a destination, so to say. We want to use this opportunity of this life and all the experiences and the teachings to take us from this level of human existence to our divine existence, which is our true birthright. Or that's where we are from, really. This is only a temporary place we have come. This world is a very huge spaceship, so to say, and on which 7 billion of people and so many other species are traveling into space. We have popped in here from somewhere we do not know. We live for some time, and then we disappear somewhere. Where is this going? What's the big picture? What's the whole meaning behind the game? That we have to sometimes step back and think about it. Otherwise, we just get caught in that mundane day-to-day thing of get up in the morning, going, having your 3 meals, and doing your work, and resting, and days become weeks, become months, become years, and then the whole lifetime goes, and the most beautiful, wonderful questions of life we never even thought about or try to find. So life is much more than that. So sometimes nature or life forces you to think, and this coronavirus situation for many has given you an opportunity. You can be whinging and grumbling and complaining about this virus, or you can say, it's beyond my control, but the time that I have is a very precious time, and I can dedicate it to some more important thing apart from food, clothing, shelter, and some enjoyments. That would be smart and wise. I hope you are taking advantage of it and doing it. A lot of things you wanted to do, meditate and all those type of things, but never had time. Now you have all the time. Use it. And you'll find that this will empower you when you come out of this lockdown in a new situation. You are better prepared to fight this because you have a clarity, deep understanding of the true purpose and meaning of life, and you have learned some skills by which you will manage yourself better. So the Vedanta philosophy gives that roadmap and the plan. What is the purpose of life? And very clearly says the purpose of life is freedom, mukti. That means we have to understand first that we are bound. This idea of being identified as a body, as somebody that is being born and lives and dies, is not the highest state of existence. It is a pretty degraded existence, so to say, because behind that there is something which is absolutely free. But I don't experience that freedom in myself. Every time I try to have that experience of freedom, I find that nature has bound me. I am bound by hunger, by disease, by the span of this life. My knowledge is bound by whatever I can gather from the senses, limited. So much I can see, so much I can hear. My capacity to understand that is bound. So everywhere there is that walls of bondage that we see, because we are embodied. Embodied as a physical being, embodied as a mental being, embodied as a knowledge being. But beyond the 3 bodies is the bodiless Atman. That is our true nature. And that's where freedom is. How do I shed off this ignorance? How do I shed off this attachment and this conditioning of myself that when I say I don't mean this personality, this individuality, and whatever is listed in your biodata and CV and all that. So when I ask you, who are you? You don't tell me, this is my name, this is my nationality, this is my profession, these are my possessions and all those things. No, these are things that you have acquired after your birth. Before you were born, who are you? And after you die, who are you? So the person who's lying in the coffin, you ask him, suppose he could respond, or you ask him, well, who is that? You didn't tell him this is a president or prime minister, an engineer or rich man. No, he is only a dead man, this is a dead body. So these are called upadhis. Things, labels we fix on ourselves. Starts with a label, parents give you a name, and then you add something else. Then suddenly you realize you're male or female, gender, and I'm a child, and I become a youth. I grow up and I become a professional, and I have some status, and then things that belong to me. All those things keep on covering the true you, true us that we are, and we become totally covered. Vedanta is that process by which we discover, remove this covering so that we say, I am, and that's why we stop. I don't say, I am this. The moment we put this predicate, this, that's where there's a layer of covering. So naked we come without all these things. What is our true nature? That is the idea. So the sages say that this Atman is something supreme, beautiful, profound. It is immortal. That means it was never born, it never dies. But the body was born, the body dies. That distinction, that knowledge is a powerful thing. You see, it's important to make this knowledge practical. We can talk about the immortality of the Atman, but tomorrow when you think of death and you're shaking and shivering there because of the fear of death, then this knowledge of the immortality of Atman is only some idea in your head. It has not been assimilated, has not been digested to empower you to conquer or overcome that fear of death. Okay, so we have to go beyond just acquiring or collecting information, but we have to translate that, to make it into an applied science. Any science is information. Applied science becomes a technology. That technology helps us to make our life better in one way or the other. So the spiritual knowledge is also a type of knowledge. But if it's just some philosophy in our head and we feel good about it, but it doesn't give me any strength and power, all that, then it has not become a technology for us to say. So how do we convert this knowledge, Vedanta knowledge, the philosophy, the understanding, into a self-empowering technology by which the inner power of the soul begins to wake up? The lion that is inside us begins to wake up. That awakening is what is wanted. That's why Swami Vivekananda would say, arise, awake. Okay, first wake up. And that waking will make you to stand up and stop not till the goal is reached. What's the goal? Self-realization, freedom. Never compromise with that goal. Never think that the purpose of life is enjoyment. Because enjoyments are here. Yes, you have a little bit, but you have and then it disappears. Most of the time it's sense enjoyment. So long the thing, sense object is there, you see something beautiful, you eat something beautiful, and you feel the enjoyment. But the same thing, if you eat 5 times, it is not enjoyable anymore. So these are temporary. But there's nothing wrong with that joy. But the source of that joy is not that beautiful thing that you have eaten. The source of that joy is the Atman. That is our true nature. The rasagulla or the ice cream that you are eating, that brought that joy out. But if we do not know the Atman nature, we think that this rasagulla is tasty, or is where the pleasure is there. No, it's inside. These are various triggers or catalysts that can express that joy. Some things will cover it and you will feel the pain. It's not that the thing outside is painful, but the inner joy has been covered, so the less light is coming and you're feeling pain. Other things are there, they will remove the covering and more of that bliss will shine out and you say, I'm so happy. That person has made me happy, or this thing has made me happy, or that particular experience has made me happy. No, the happiness was not in this person or thing or experience. The bliss was within me. These things discovered it, or they can cover it. Anything that helps in the discovering is good for us. Anything that goes against that, covers it more, that is restricting the freedom or the expression of the true Atman nature. So this idea of this Atman is something new for many people because it's not taught in our school, it's not taught by our parents, it's not told when we do our puja, the rituals and ceremonies, we go through them mechanically. They were meant for that particular purpose, they work for that particular purpose, but that understanding is not there. Okay, so when you do something with proper understanding, there's greater zeal and energy. You might go to the gymnasium and do those exercises which is told by the instructor. They will still make you strong. But if the instructor took you aside and told you, look, these are the muscles in your body, and by these exercises we are trying to make this particular muscle stronger, then when you're doing the exercises, that gives you a little bit more determination and perseverance and understanding why you should be doing it. We all want to know a little bit of why. And so long we understand the why, we'll find out a way to do the how of it. And when the why is not there, why do we live? Why do we work? What's the meaning and purpose behind this? When that is not there, then after some time, the wind goes out of the sail when difficult time comes. There's a school of psychology called logotherapy. Okay, this is second or third Vienna school of psychiatry. They use it. Logo means meaning, therapy means treatment. So many people will find that life has suddenly lost meaning. They have attained all the success, everything is there, but then say, what's more there? Or some difficulty comes and suddenly everything is dismantled and falls apart, and he says, I don't see any meaning and purpose to continue in this life. And then they do all these crazy things. So the treatment for them is to give meaning and purpose to them. And if they have a meaning and purpose, then you'll find they will go and overcome all the difficulties and challenges. So long there's a why to something, man will find out how to achieve it. That what is the why for this life? Why are we here? What's the purpose behind it? And if it is not taught to us, then we think that there's a template of success. Go to school, kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, get a degree, get a job, get married, have a house, have children, educate them, do them all very nicely. As you keep on going, the society will tick you and say that's a successful person and reward you and award you and certify you and everything, vet you and all that. And then you keep on doing that mechanically like sheep, going to the slaughterhouse, and before you know, you become an old person and you die. What was it all about? And he said, I don't know, because why did you do it? Because everyone else is doing it. That's how the society is. We never asked about it. Then you say, is that very smart? No. Now, when we do that repeatedly, okay, that comes and take us, just when we become a little wiser, old people will begin to tell you, there's nothing, this life is all very empty. Just when they begin to get a little wise, death comes and takes up them stage, and they come back again and go through that whole process. This is what is called Maya. Now, that's not a very enlightened way of living. We can benefit from just like in education, we benefit from the discoveries of so many people who studied what we call science and knowledge and systematically have codified it into maths, chemistry, physics, biology, and then the levels of year 1 to university. And we, in a very short time, can gather that knowledge, and then rest of the life you apply it in your particular profession. Likewise, in the spiritual field, we too can benefit from the knowledge and the wisdom that has been accumulated over centuries and centuries by people who committed their whole life to the pursuit of this knowledge. And that comes to us in this, what we call structures and forms of religion and spirituality. Now, a smart person who is keen to understand or discover himself will take advantage of that, approach them, not to, in a way with an open mind, just like a student goes to the teacher for knowledge. He doesn't argue with the teacher at every step. He has the faith in the teacher, in the knowledge that is there. He takes it, tries his, so much time and effort he puts day in, day out for years, studying at night, trying to pass various examinations. But when it comes to spirituality, we ask the people, have you had some time to read the Bhagavad Gita? Immediately so many excuses will come. Oh, Swamiji, it's in Sanskrit, it's very difficult to find. That means somehow we are not sincere and serious about that inner knowledge about it. This is very important, even more important than the secular knowledge outside, because that knowledge will only give you some food, some clothing, some shelter, some enjoyments there. And then, and all those things will be taken away from you also. So the net end value of all those things is a zero. Big zero, small zero. One might be a very poor man who has got some very simple food, clothing, and shelter. Another one has got is a multimillionaire with a big mansion. But at the end of the day, the result is same. Both are in the same coffin. As they say, in a game of chess, when the game is on, the king is very important and a pawn is a small thing. But when the game is over, when you put all the pieces in the box, the king and the pawn are lying side by side. So when death comes, everything is demonetized, so to say. All value things that we value in the material world get a zero value. And if my value was also zero because I thought those are the things that make me what I am, then we end up with a big zero, a meaningless, endless life. So that is not very smart. That type of mathematics is not good. So you have to put some value. How do we put some value and meaning into our own lives? We must put a figure other than zero. Put a 1. Now if you put a 1 and add a 0, it becomes 10. Put another 0, it becomes 100. So self-knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya, is the one. And we have to put some time and effort in acquiring that. Then you'll find life in everything, all the most painful experiences also will have some meaning and purpose, because those painful ones, which we'll call problems or challenges we want to dodge and avoid and all those things, are the great teachers in our life. Okay, and if we have that right understanding and perspective, then we embrace world in all forms that they come to us, knowing that the purpose of life is not enjoyment, but knowledge. What type of knowledge? Spiritual knowledge, self-knowledge, nirvana, mukti, self-realization, God-realization, all those things there. In this journey of life, while some time and energy has to be given to the acquisition of food, clothing, and shelter, but that should not be the be and all of life. Some part, another part of life should be dedicated, committed to this other goal. The real purpose of life, for which we are coming in this world again and again for so many lifetimes. And there's no rest to the cycle of coming until that one goal is realized. The choice is whether you want to come again 1,000 times and suffer all these things and get whacked around, and yes, some degree of enjoyment we'll have, but every time death will come and take that away. Or if there is a goal, let me fix my mind onto that and achieve that and be free from all the sufferings. We have to choose that. Life itself will teach us. Some wiser ones will learn faster, though not so wise ones will complain, "Oh Lord, why does this suffering come to me again and again?" The reason is we are not learning from those experiences. So we can benefit from the wisdom and experiences of those who have realized the higher truth. They come to us in the form of the scriptures. What do they say? They tell us about the true nature of man, and it's very uplifting and most beautiful, so empowering to think that I'm not an ordinary little being in this world, in this vast universe, that I appear like a mosquito and disappear in another few days, but I am that being out of which this whole universe has been created. That is my true nature. What a wonderful idea. I'm not a sinner or something insignificant thing. I am the ocean out of which millions of waves appear and into which those waves disappear. I'm not the wave. Such a wonderful idea. That is what Vedanta is trying to teach us. And it says, dwell on this idea. Your true nature, your true identity is that Atman nature, the ocean nature, not the wave nature. Constantly we have to think about it, meditate on it, Shravan, Manan, listening, meditating, and trying to express this in our everyday life. That is a challenge. And that's why Swami Vivekananda said, my mission can be put into one sentence: to teach unto mankind their divinity, that everyone is divine. That means behind every wave is the ocean, really. The waves appear and disappear, but the ocean is a permanent entity. We are really that divine ocean, so to say, ocean of consciousness. It doesn't stop there. That this idea of this mukti or freedom is something that we'll acquire when this body falls away and we'll go to some place called Vaikuntha, and there we are in the presence of some divine being, and that is freedom, that I will not be sent here again. He says, no, it has to be made practical here and now. So he says, my ideal can be indeed be put into a few words. What is? That is to preach unto mankind the divinity and how to manifest it in every movement of life. So it's not some otherworldly ideal. How that idea of the Atman can be a self-empowering source of strength that will make us live this life and influence it in every movement of our life. Not only the life of a religious or spiritual person, everyone, anyone, because we, all of us, whether we know or not, are that Atman. Behind us is that ocean. Now, some waves are aware of that and they're trying to connect with it. That ocean you might call in an objective sense, the God. And I'm the devotee. That is a Paramatman, I'm the Jivatman. Somehow I've become aware of it and now I'm trying to connect with that. That is your puja and all those things. Others are there who are not really aware of that ocean behind them. So they think there's some independent entity. Where have you come from? I don't know. Where are you going to? I do not know. And some of them even deny that ocean. There's no ocean is there. I'm a floating wave on my own somewhere up there. No connection. So these are these agnostics or atheists and all those things. And the number is growing. It's not their fault that they don't believe in these things, but maybe the way this religion has been taught to them, the idea of God is some extra cosmic being who has created this universe and human beings and put us on this planet, and somehow he has lost control of the thing. When he says there's so much suffering and misery and wars and disasters and all those things, he asks the question, where is that compassionate God? Why there is so much suffering? So looks like this has been cooked up by some priests and this and that, and he says this is some mumbo jumbo. That is the understanding. Because sometimes in religions, this idea of God, the fear of God has been utilized to keep people in control. It's not the love of God. You're not seeking for truth. It's controlling you, and out of fear you are kept on a straight line. And when the fear is gone, then you have that freedom. Some people rebel against that idea. I don't want to be under the tyranny of such a God type of thing. And a church or system or religion which is trying to restrict my freedom and control me and give me a very negative idea of who I am, and everything that I enjoyed they decried. So people develop a negative idea of what spirituality or religion is. That is not how it is. And that's not how the founders of the faith taught them. The Buddhas and the Christs, they never taught like that. They talked about the divine in man. The kingdom of heaven is within. Every soul is potentially divine. But sometimes over theology and priestcraft and all these things come, rituals and ceremonies come, while they were initially designed to be good, but when the meaning was lost, then these things have subdued and covered the beautiful truth of the true nature of man. Man was sacrificed at the altar, so to say. So when that happens, great teachers come again, incarnations come again, and they remove all those coverings and say, don't throw the baby with the water, so to say. Don't throw away rituals and ceremonies, they're good, but understand what's the meaning and purpose behind it. Now you do those things again and you'll find that they will energize you, recharge you spiritually. So those teachings come to us in Vedanta and Yoga. So there are two parts. Today I'm sort of giving an overview of the whole thing. The Vedanta talks about the divine nature of man. We have to understand what the word divinity means. There is something called, if you use the word the self of man, I will not use the word Atman, because Atman is like some objective things out there. Self means, I know I'm a little self with a small s, but there is a greater me with the capital S. And that greater me is my true nature. Out of that greater me, this lesser me has come. How has this come? By covering it. What are the coverings? This body-mind complex. They have limited my full expression of my infinity. If I remove these coverings, then that existence is infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. And I'm trying to find infinite existence all the time, in various ways. I don't want to die. Hunger, disease cannot kill me. I want to live forever, because I want to be eternally existent. But I'm trying to do that to make the body live forever. That is my ignorance. As the Atman, I am eternal, immortal here and now. But I'm trying to make this body immortal That's the problem. Even we hear in the mythology, the devas or the asuras or somebody did tremendous amount of tapasya, and Lord Brahma or Vishnu came and he said, what do you want? And he said, every now and then they will come to the thing, may no one can kill me or something like that. Ravana asked and this asura asked. They think they are the body and they want to make the body immortal. That's not possible. So, but that is the drive, whether it's an insect or an animal or human being or God, we all want to be immortal. Why? Because that is our true nature, that is in our real spiritual DNA, and we are trying to accept that. Finish. That's the story. So that is the nature of the Atman. Infinite existence, infinite knowledge. Imagine a state where there is no ignorance. Just imagine it. So such a wonderful idea. Where there's no ignorance, I don't have to struggle through some tool like seeing something through the senses, or if the senses are not so strong, then I put some technology to empower it. For example, I can't see what's happening in America, so to say, but I put a television or some Skype or something, some technology we use here, far away things. So senses limit us. We use our technology to overcome the limitations of the senses, and we are developing in that way. But if we kept on developing in this way forever, do you think we'd ever be able to come to a state where technology can make us omniscient, all-knowing? But that's the direction we're going. But can we stop chasing after knowledge and saying, I don't want to know because that's impossible? That's also not possible because that's built in your system. Why? That is your true nature. We are that omniscient being, infinite knowledge. And same thing with bliss. Happiness we want, sense enjoyments, this and that. Again, we enjoy a little bit, suffering comes. Again, we use our knowledge of these applied sciences to make ourselves happy. How much happiness you can have? So much only. Can we be eternally always happy? No, 5% happiness, 95% suffering. That's the law of the world. That's how we are. Can we give that up and say, since that is impossible to express infinite bliss, let's not try that? No, we can't give that up because that is how we are constituted. Freedom is our nature. Every time somebody puts a restriction, we rebel. Okay, so nature tries to suppress it, and the consciousness from inside tries to throw those things off. And you'll find that expressing in everywhere, whether it's animals or plants and people. As soon as somebody tries to curtail our freedom, there will be a rebellion. If that happens, we are alive. If that not happens, then we are dead men. So freedom is our nature. Beauty. That Atman is the source of beauty. And that beauty percolates through all the layers. So beautiful body, beautiful mind, beautiful sentiments, beautiful emotions, in kindness and compassion. That is our source. It's expressing there. How much can we express? Only so much. But in itself, it is infinite beauty, infinite purity. So these are these wonderful ideas. When we dwell on them and try to associate ourselves with the Atman nature, that is my true identity. That is the real me. That's a real man. And what we see from outside, the personality, the living being, human being, is the apparent man. Some coverings are, we want to discover ourselves. So first we get this knowledge. We read it, we hear it, we think about, we meditate, we question, we argue, and all those type of things. We got to go through the process until we develop that solid conviction deep inside me. It's not an experience, but intellectually I have understood that this human existence is not really the best in the world, and I should not try to remain in this, but there's something higher. How do I know? Where do I see? Well, among people we see, some are greater, some are less. Why are they greater? The Atman nature, in those where it is shining more, we say they're more knowledgeable, more wonderful people and all that. And they are these wonderful people who have excelled and really are at the peak of it, the greatest manifestation. These are the great spiritual giants. They were also human beings like us in a human form, but in them, it was not like a small lamp or candle light or 25 or 40 watt bulb. It was like a blazing sun of light shining in all directions. These were the saviors, the great teachers, Buddhas and Christ. They are proofs that we too can become like that. It's not that they were only divine and we can never be. They all of them call to us and say, see, this is what is possible and potential in every human being. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal of life is to manifest the divinity within by controlling nature, the internal nature and the external nature. Swamiji says, Swami Vivekananda says, do this by work or worship, psychic control or philosophy. Work means karma yoga, worship means bhakti yoga, psychic control means meditation, philosophy means jnana yoga. By one or more or all of these, choose whatever is best suits your temperament and be free. That is the whole of religion. It doesn't talk about believe in this god or that sect or have this label of you belonging to this faith and subscribe to these things. No, these are means to end. Rituals and temples and ceremonies and rituals and philosophies, these are secondary details. What happens when we are not alert to the true ideal, the primary purpose, then the secondary details become primary and the primary one gets lost in there. And that's when the religion loses its vitality, so to say. It's not totally dead, but it becomes covered. And teachers come and try to restore that, and then suddenly we say, wow, that is so profound. I'm not an ordinary human being. Actually, I'm a divine being, and let me realize that. So the philosophy part of it, the Vedanta part of it, gives us that conceptual, intellectual understanding. And through study of this constant reflection, we should come to a state of conviction. Thereafter, no more argumentation, no more too much reading of this book and that book, window shopping, going to this place and that place there. Now it's time to dive deep into it. So that is called Siddhanta. You have made the decision and life is short. Time is just flying by. And there's something more to be achieved in this life. Once that awakening takes place, you'll find that suddenly there will be some major readjustment in your life. And you say, let me put my priorities in the right place. What my life activities, job and things are there, they'll give me some means by which I will earn my livelihood. I will settle for the basic minimum. But the most beautiful thing about me is my spiritual nature, which I've understood, and I have to dedicate some time and effort to it. And those methods, what is to be done, they are taught in the Bhagavad Gita. Today, Atmashanji was talking, Sri Krishna's teaching. How does a spiritual seeker reorganize his or her spiritual life and resources, that means your time and energy, and points the compass of the life, the north of that life, to the spiritual goal. Now your GPS is not set to some place of enjoyment, but to the destination of self-realization. Global positioning system, GPS. You might say God priority system. God realization is your priority. Anything that will navigate you towards a direction. So when you set the goal with great conviction, it's locked there. Then what do? Then you have to start driving. Now and then you have to keep an idea what's the destination, but more important to you is what's happening right in front of you. So when you say, let's drive, then it zooms down to the street, the bend that is coming around. And something that can guide you along the path. You keep on driving. There might be many, many paths. You will choose the best one. None of them will be a straight line. It will go winding. It doesn't matter. No path is perfect. No religion is perfect. But whichever one can lead you to the destination, that is good enough for you. Of course, you want the shortest one, less traffic, and you can reach there quicker, isn't it? So that's the one, your navigation system. But at least you have got a destination. Suppose somebody didn't set a goal and he's just driving around. So you want to go out for a drive. Where are you going? Nowhere in particular. Just driving around, seeing here, sitting there, moving there like this. Most people are there. There's no goal setting in their life. They're just driving through. Why? Everyone else is driving. So we are also driving. Where they're going, we do not know. That's how it is, they say. So that's why the scriptures will guide us to that goal of realization. So we talked about two things. One is this intellectual understanding. I can't teach you. The book can't teach you. The teacher can't teach you. We can't give you the truth. The truth is inside you. That's why no one can teach you. But these means can help you discover the truth within you. So that's how it has to be understood. Do not go to a teacher or book and say, give me religion, give me spirituality. No, they can't give you. Spirituality, the truth is within us. There's no God out there. The God is within me. In ignorance, we might think He's there. In the kindergarten of religion, all those things are allowed. But at some point, God is not that statue or the image. What I have projected there is my conception of God, because I can't conceptualize Him within my own being. So I've taken some support and I'm pouring my love and affection and prayer to that being, so to say. That being is my own higher self within me. But just like I can't see myself, so I put a mirror in front of me and I'm seeing that and say, how beautiful is that mirror? How is that image? Who is that image? It's me only. So when that awakening comes, then this mirror can be removed. And I become aware of my inner knowledge and inner beauty. So the real God that we are seeking is within us. Tattvamasi. You are the being you are seeking for. That's what the Upanishads teach us. So that's a very empowering idea, isn't it? No more are we just dependent on some mercy of some being out there who might be fanciful because you praise him so much and all those type of things and make all these offerings and things, that's a little bit of a shopkeeping in there. No, that God is not out there. It's in my own true nature. That is a very, very empowering idea. This is where the strength of Vedanta comes. And it's what the sages who have realized it, they talk about it in the most superlative forms. So that is my true idea, and I must dwell on that. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasa. Meditate on it so that becomes your sense of identity. So when you say, who am I? Then, Chidananda Rupo Shivoham Shivoham. I am that conscious being. Chit. Ananda, full of bliss. That is my Swarupa. Shivoham. I am that supreme being, the Shiva. Not that Shiva that's in the stone image or in the linga. Really, that's a reflection of the truth that's inside me. That being whom we call Shiva dwells in my own heart. Actually, I am He. That is the greatest tragedy, that in ignorance, the God has become man. And this man has to shed off this ignorance and become asset his divine nature. The Rama, the Krishna, the Buddha, the Ramakrishna are telling us and showing to us that this is possible. That is what they're trying to do. That is their message that themselves are saying, not what is taught in the book. Their life and their being and that wonderful existence, that is the greatest teaching. Of course, they try to communicate in words and, systematically the Bhagavad Gita is there. But if you want to understand the Gita, understand Sri Krishna. When he says, be non-attached, see his non-attachment in the battlefield. Around him, all this tremendous war is being fought. But he, in the midst of it, he is totally unattached to all those things. Look at Sri Ramchandra. He is doing all the duties as the father, as the husband, as the son, and as a husband and everything. But today, he is being told that he's going to be made a king. He's not jumping up and down out of excitement and joy. And the next day, he's told that you are going to exile and no kingdom will be given. He's not crying somewhere there. In both places, that same beautiful smile is there. That means you can't add anything to me by giving me kingdom, and you can't remove anything from me by sending me to exile, because I dwell in my own blissful nature. That is very, very empowering, isn't it? We are not slaves to the world. The world cannot lift me up and it cannot drag me down. That type of self-empowerment comes when we realize our Atman nature. It's wonderful. Death cannot touch us. Nothing can touch us. So that, a little bit of that flavor of that Atman nature should filter down into our everyday existence. And so you start the day through that meditation of reminding yourself who we are, why we are here, and what's the purpose of this life. And in that journey, everything has got a meaning, but are you looking through that optics, so to say? Or are we complaining life is so much suffering and problems and I would rather avoid them, so to say? Or you would say, whatever these experiences that are coming in my life are a result of my previous actions. As you sow, so you'll reap. Certain things I might have done, and If they were not very good things, some sufferings will be here. Good things I did, some enjoyments will be there. Both are bondage to me because both are binding me to this world. They're chains. One is a golden chain, the other one is an iron chain, but both are chains. I want to go beyond this happiness and misery and be free from this by abiding in my blissful nature, so to say, Atman nature. So this world is now has to be what you can't change, you have to endure, but be mindful not to create more things by which we will be forced to be embodied again. So that person sort of has got that bigger picture in life. Patiently you endure things around there, but always being alert not to conduct or do anything in thought, word and deed that can be great a cause for future bondage like that. So the knowledge part is there, one part, that is the Vedanta part of it. The second part is the yoga part of it, the action part of it, the sadhana part of it, and that's why it's called Yoga Vedanta. Synthesis of both of them. Understand the theory part of it, and then apply that to reach your goal. That purpose, that journey, so to say, to attain that goal is called sadhana. So the goal is to be free, to realize our Atman nature. What are the things we must do to achieve that? And if it is something that is sort of disconnected from our life, that means this is my worldly life and this is my spiritual life, and they are two different watertight compartments, and on Sundays when I go to the church or temple, that day I am religious, and the rest of the time I am an ordinary man, so to say, and they're not same. That type of artificial differentiation is not the right way or best way to look at life. Life is one. You can spiritualize everything with a proper philosophy, an understanding of it. And if it's not there, then it becomes a worldly life, so to say, because it gives you only some worldly goal. The same life can, every activity, thought and word and deed in this life can have a spiritual output. And if you can have that, then you will call that a spiritual life. What is that philosophy, an understanding and perspective and outlook that can transform the optics, so to say, how I see life, so that it's a spiritual life through and through, not what I do in the temple and church, but every activity can become spiritual life. That would be a profound, wonderful philosophy, isn't it? Then you are not only a part-time spiritual seeker, but you are a 100% full-time spiritual seeker. Is there a philosophy like that? Yes, and that is the idea you'll find demonstrated in the logo of the Ramakrishna Mission, designed by Swami Vivekananda. In the center is that swan, the hamsa. What is that hamsa? It's a bird that can, if you can give it some milk, it can take the milk part of it and leave the water behind. That means it has that discrimination or discernment by which it can take the spiritual component out and leave the worldly component behind. Some power is there. So that Atman, the goal of life is to realize or attain that being. Sthita prajna, self-realization, God realization, that is the being. How do we do that? There are these 4 yogas. What are the 4 yogas? Karma yoga, action, work. We all have to work. But work becomes a means of bondage because we do not know the art of working. We turn the screw clockwise, it binds you. Turn it anti-clockwise, it frees you. So work can bind us in this world and work can also free us. Karma, when it leads to freedom, is called karma yoga. Bhakti, emotions, love, affection, kindness, and all those things that we give to things of this world, sideways to things around this world. It can become a source of bondage because every time we attach ourselves mentally, we'll give a little bit of freedom to those things to affect us also. So you love somebody, if he's very nice to you, we are very happy. If that person is not so nice to you, that brings that equal amount of misery there. When the same emotion is taken away from these things of the world and directed towards the divine, that becomes devotion. It becomes liberating and free. How do we re-channelize the emotional energy and connect it to the spiritual source, so to say? And through that source, again, love all these things. It's not that you don't love your children and parents and wife and husband anymore. No, you do that, but you love through a spiritual path, not through a physical material path anymore. That's the art and science of the transformation. So you spiritualize that relationship, knowing that Atman which is in me is in them also. That means the water that's in this wave is that also in the other wave, and all waves are out of the same ocean. And why do I love everyone? Because I am present in all beings and all beings are present in me if I am thinking of myself as the ocean. And that's a wonderful way to look, isn't it? So when I give something to somebody, it's not I'm giving to somebody else. I am present in there. Whether I eat through this mouth or eat through that mouth, the same being is being fed. That's a wonderful philosophy. It's not you giving out of compassion or, feeling pity for somebody. Because you are asserting that oneness. You are asserting your oneness, your presence in all beings. And how is that being translated? Is it some beautiful idea that I am the one infinite being, I am the Brahman, or am I making and testing it out in my everyday life? That's why I would go and do charity. Not charity, would say, because it is not charity anymore. I'm going to feed myself in that body. I'm going to clothe myself in that body also, because I'm present in all being. This expansion of heart is what spiritual life is all about. Expansion is life, contraction is death. Unselfishness is God. Swami Vivekananda says 3 words. Unselfishness is God. Selfishness limits me in this little prism. Unselfishness liberates me and frees me, asserts that oneness. So kindness, charity, compassion, sacrifice, all these are means by which we connect with everything. How wonderful. And that's where the morality and the ethics of it comes in there. And when we do not know our oneness with everything, then might is right and I try to grab from others and cheat and exploit, and all those other sentiments come, hatred and anger and jealousy and greed and all those things. And all those things what make me smaller and smaller and smaller, cut me off from my infinite source, deprive me of that energy and sustenance. And what do? I become a miserable small thing in this world, get tossed and knocked around there, and wonder, why am I suffering? Who is responsible for that? I myself have reduced myself to this important being. But on the other hand, I have the choice to integrate myself with my higher self. Those things, actions, thoughts, words, and deeds that help me in the integration with my higher self, we call that dharma, righteousness, things to do, the do's. Those things that cut me off from my higher self, greater source, the Atman, and reduce me into this little small, selfish being, so to say, that we call adharma. So those things should not be done. That's the yardstick by which we can measure what is morally or ethically right. That which frees me and connects me to the one, that is good. That's how we will do it. Anything that might or has the potential to disconnect me and deprive me and limit me, that is going to be spiritually harmful to me, and that's where I should not do it. If this alertness and discrimination is there before we engage in any activity and say, shall I do this or shall I not do that? That alertness or this filter or this knowledge can empower you and keep you pointed onto that goal of self-realization, the north. If that is not there, then before you know, the pull of the world can turn you around. All samskaras can drag you around and we're going some circles around there. So the yoga part of it, the practice part of it, why we are what we are now. If I am the Atman, why am I not experiencing myself right now? That's a good question, isn't it? If I am the Atman, I should be able to experience it. What is blocking me? That is called ignorance, avidya. It's a statement of fact of what we experience depending at what level our mind is. It is not some magic. It is not some maya or something like that. Swami Vivekananda in the Jnana Yoga has given 2 beautiful lectures, which I would suggest you to read. Maya and the conception of God. Maya and freedom. And he says, it's a statement of fact. It's not like some mirage has been created in the desert. It's a statement of fact of what we experience depending on where we are. Means this, where our mental level is. So to give an example, here in this space, there's so many signals, TV, radio and all that. Do you hear them? Do you see those images? No. You need a device. You bring a TV, switch it on, get the remote control, and first you do a search of the channels. What are all the channels available? And then you switch on to a particular channel. Maybe it's a music channel. So much music and all that's happening, you enjoy it. You press the button to the next channel. What happens to the first one? The first one discontinues. There's a little gap, and then another one appears. And then you keep on going up and down to various channels. So this existence that is there is something like that. There are multiple levels or planes of existence. What we call these 7 lokas, Bhur, Bhuva, Swa, Mahajana, and all, these are planes of consciousness, not somewhere up there, but here itself. But they are in different frequency levels, just like all the stations are here, but they're different frequency levels. You don't lift your TV up to another level. It remains there, but what you're changing is a frequency plane. And as you change that, the signal that you receive gets transformed. So, likewise, Maya is a statement of fact of what we experience depending on at what frequency our mind is tuned to. Okay? We, human plane, functioning through these 5 sense organs, we call that waking state. Now and then we drift into the subconscious state where we're dreaming, and it also goes down into a deeper state somewhere, the deep sleep state, where I have no idea of who I am as the individual and personality. And then I come back, and we shuttle through this process so many times, every time we go to sleep every day. But there's another state higher than that, the superconscious state, the Turiya state. These 3, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, waking, dream, and sleep. Beyond that, beyond these 3 is the 4th, called the Turiya, the superconscious state. And in that state is far superior to all this, yet that sustains all this. All the 3 states are superimposed on them. So that's the Turiya state, or the Brahman state, the Atma realized state. And a human being is special in the sense that he or she has the potentiality to access to this higher level of consciousness. That's what makes the human life very, very special. By proper training, by proper exercise of the human energies that are there, one can sort of uplift and transport ourselves and transform ourselves, develop that capacity to access the higher frequencies. It's not just UHF, VHF and higher frequencies like that. As those planes are accessed, then what is appearing to us as this world of plants and animals and men and human beings gets transformed. And this is what yoga is all about. Awakening of that spiritual power. First, whatever is holding it down, that has to be disconnected. And then you inject some energy into it. It rises to another plane. And that plane, the same things are looked. The table doesn't appear to be a table anymore. The plant doesn't appear to be a plant anymore. The human being doesn't appear to be a human being anymore. From that level, everything is pure consciousness. Everything is Brahman. It is the divine power. But when that same mind comes down again, then these forms will appear. And when you go up there, the forms will disappear and you see the consciousness, the substance out of which everything has been created. That capacity to shuttle up and down is possible through that spiritual awakening. Religion is about facilitating that type of spiritual transformation. So first we understand that something is there. Secondly, this lower level human existence is very much inferior to it. Thirdly, it's possible for us to rise from this human level to the divine level. Fourthly, what are the means, do's and don'ts, that is also taught. And fifthly, we walk the path and hopefully within this life come to that experience of what we really are. Nothing more will be given to you. Only the ignorance that is covering will be removed from us. So that walking the path is about the sadhana part of it. Meditation is called Raj Yoga, the royal path. We have this intellect, capacity of thinking, Jnana Yoga. Heart, emotion, Bhakti Yoga. Hands, action, Karma Yoga. 3 H's, head, heart and hands. God has given to all of us. We can utilize this to get material things, enjoyments of this world, or we can also utilize it more intelligently for a higher purpose of the inner spiritual growth. That is the choice. All of us have been given that power, but that knowledge and training, if it is given in a systematic way, and in this life some guidance and support is given, then we can all move in that direction. That is the purpose of life. Next week we probably will not have a class, but the following weekend we would like to see and dwell on what does it mean to express that divinity within. How does that knowledge empower us in our everyday life by giving a spiritual flavor and a spiritual outlook and spiritual glasses to see the world in the proper light, so that this becomes a fantastic journey and a spiritual outcome can be there. Otherwise, if we just limit ourselves to eating, drinking, making merry, procreating and all that, then we are not very much different from the animals. We have not done justice to a human life. So we can discuss certain ideas there, but you should become a little bit more serious on your own and go to this sources. I would suggest you take up this book, Raj Yoga, Swami Vivekananda's. You can buy that online. It's something that you need to read a little bit on your own, meditate on it, then process that information, and this becomes a little like a map that guides you in the spiritual journey. At the end of the day, we have to walk the talk, so to say. Until then, so practice meditation, study, live a spiritual life, develop these maps, develop the spiritual glasses, the Vedanta way of seeing things, and see if that line is waking within you. That's the whole thing. Arise, wake, and stop not till the goal is reached. That's the clarion call from Swami Vivekananda, calling to us from the top of the mountain. All of you come, and we should respond to that call for the good of ourselves and the good of all around us. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tatsat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.